we have our election in 2025. You're in an election year right now, 2024.
Yes.
It was actually, you said you've been paying attention to politics for a long time. I was not really paying attention to politics until probably maybe 2015, 2016 is when I kind of came online and started to wake up from an entirely blue pill. And it was actually the media hate on for Trump that I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to me. And so I really like him. Of course, I guess I'd have two criticisms of him, which one would be how happy he is about the Operation Warp Speed. And also, kind of kissing the ring, so to speak, of a certain other nation that gives a lot of campaign money to a lot of U.S. politicians, AIPAC. So some people will think like Trump is a psyop. I don't know that he is or he isn't, but I think it's certainly better than the alternative. But what do you make of everything? What do you make of this election? What do you make of the two parties jockeying it out? Like, where do you think things sit? And I guess based on whatever result we get at your election, what do you think is going to happen moving forward?
Well, and where I look at it is with people's criticisms of Trump, and what they don't realize is this is a man who used to be universally loved in this country. The rappers would rap about being in Trump. He was in movies like Home Alone. He actually reopened the ice skating rink in New York, got that reopened. He's like the biggest pop culture celebrity millionaire ever. And he's also a very shrewd businessman. So doubling down with the deals like AIPAC and stuff like that, that's a big thing that he knows he's got to play some of the game. I have really high hopes for this Trump presidency. It seems an inevitability at this time. And his first presidency, he ran in, he started to be the bull in the china shop. And because he didn't play ball, they shut him down with the media. They broke everything they could about his presidency, but he still got a lot done, as much as he could for somebody that was being attacked that hard. And you can see how hard they're still attacking him because he's coming back. At this point, I think I'm not going to say he's playing 4D chess or anything like some people do. He is playing a good game. In fact, he just came out and as soon as Biden said something bad about Israel, he came out and said he supported Israel, but also reminded us that he told Netanyahu what a bad job he was doing. So, and that he's I think he really in his heart wants to help restore the country he grew up in, that he was able to live the American dream before it's gone for everyone. And I truly hope that he isn't just going to get in there and play ball and that something actually gets done. But, and this is where I pay attention to lots of other stuff, I think the deep state might be more willing to play ball with Trump now than to try and push Biden and continue the program that Biden's people want, because it's not just, I figured this out. There's not just one big deep state. It's basically like you guys have your different political parties set up there where we just have like Republicans and Democrats, but then we have all the lobbyists and, like I said, all the college educated kids. And that's a lot of those college kids. They're doing the bidding of the evil tyrant billionaires from overseas that we all like to make the butt of our jokes all the time, that are seriously doing damage to our country because they'd like to see a one world communist government, in my opinion. But I think our actual deep state, the intelligence agencies and everything, are seeing exactly what's happening with the American people, realizing that these kids and stuff that have been coming out of college have been completely just undermining our system. And that's been the purpose all along. I really think our intelligence agencies got caught with their pants down and infiltrated too. They got infiltrated, and the people at the top only care about money. And I think we're going to see heads roll once Trump gets elected. It really depends on me. I mean, I've heard there's a lot of rumors right now that he's already picked his running mate, and it's Marco Rubio, which if it's Marco Rubio, that means the deep state may actually be working with Trump on doing something, because the people, you can't not see it online anymore. And I really think Hillary was supposed to be, we would have been right on pace with Canada with Hillary in office. So he did throw just a big wrench in the machine. And I'm sure they've realized too that more and more people are like, wait, no, you can't do this to us. We have rights. You guys even have your, what do they call it up there? I can't remember. But
our charter, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. However, it basically, the government showed us that it's not worth the paper it's written on, because they completely disregarded it whenever they put in any of they declared back to that blockade of the border. And in conjunction with that, they had the Freedom Convoy, which was in Ottawa, but more the Coast border was actually where it was all kind of the impetus was centered around.
Yeah.
They declared the Emergencies Act, which is formerly the War Measures Act, which is your countries at war, all power is centralized to the federal government, and they can do pretty much whatever they want in the name of national security.
Bank accounts and did all that garbage. And
I
was that's when I got interested in Canadian politics. That was my beacon there to start paying attention. So, but there's the theater of our federal politics too, right? Because we have Trudeau, the big evil Trudeau, and his government, and all the, what's the word? The word is escaping me right now. All the scandals, he's been involved in. But you have the other side. The leader is Pierre Poilievre. He's the big conservative, the great white hope for right wingers in Canada. But it was actually the Conservative Party that brought the World Economic Forum to Canada under Stephen Harper, which was the previous Conservative Prime Minister. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party are all about the trans agenda, transgender day of visibility. They're all about mass migration. They're all about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So he's not trustworthy. And also it worries me because our premier used to work, because Pierre is actually from Alberta originally, and our premier used to work with him, and she has a relationship with him. And so we're very much, we want kind of less Ottawa. Ottawa, of course, is where our federal government is. It's like your DC. Yeah. We want less of them in our lives. We want less centralized control. But if Pierre gets in, which it looks like he might just do that, the ability for our premier to stand up to him, I think, is going to be completely diminished, because they're basically friends. And she's not going to be, I think, working in the best interest of Albertans. I think she's just going to play ball, and she's going to give a lot more than she should. So that's my worry. And so my vote's going to be going elsewhere. Not that I think that voting is going to get us out of this. So that's kind of where we're at. You guys are further down the rabbit hole than we are, and the difference being too that your populist candidate went and started his own party, pretty much had to start his own party, whereas Trump laid siege to the Republican Party and effectively turned all the people into Republicans. Because I was an independent until just recently. Now I will call myself a Republican because they overthrew the Wicked Witch of the Republican National Convention, who did nothing to help any of the candidates that were actually America first. So we've actually seen a lot of changes here where the Republican National Convention is now firmly America first. And I think we're going to see a lot of our rhinos drop. We've already seen quite a few of these deep state people who were probably very easily pulled off what their corruption was, already resign. So I think that they're slowly picking it apart, and they're going to help primary these guys out of action. And literally, Laura Trump is one of the co-chairs of the RNC now. So, and Barron Trump today just is going to be a Republican representative down in Florida.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Barron Trump just turned 18. He's into politics. He's already interested. So it seems like we have our populist movement got traction in probably the one place it could work, one of the two big parties. So our Republican Party was pretty much just everything the Democrats are doing, only slower. Mm-hmm. So everything the left's doing, just do it a lot slower. We don't care. And that's the difference. I see like a lot of what so-and-so called Republicans now are mostly former Democrats, that we still have a lot of the same views. There's some hardcore conservative guys out there that are still left, but I'm kind of a live and let live kind of guy. I'm very anti-war. I started a whole thing that I'm going to start pushing out here called Patriots for Peace, that I want to start pushing as more of like, see if a movement I can actually get to trend and get going online, because I'm very much that 90s liberal, had more conservative views than anybody in our government right now. And that's what a lot of us have turned into. We didn't move far left because we were out here living the American dreams. Just, we weren't paying attention enough. And we hear that a lot with my generation, specifically Gen X, your generation. Are you an older millennial at 43?
I'm 43, so I'm only 2 years behind you there.
Yeah, I think you may be right on the cusp of Gen X and millennial, but we weren't paying attention. We were asleep at the wheel. But a lot of us aren't anymore. Another reason, if you haven't noticed, they passed the bill to shut down TikTok.
Yeah,
and it's twofold reasons. For one, it's radicalizing the college students to be pro-Palestine because they're doing that stuff there, and pro-communist and things like that. But TikTok has very distinct different algorithms depending on what it senses on your phone or your computer during your first login, because you actually give it access to all the information. Like, so when Doug got onto TikTok years ago, she's been on it for years. We didn't get the crazy lefty videos. We started seeing the Patriot movement get born on TikTok. The MAGA movement go from just people like on Facebook, because we all got kicked off, to spreading, and these movements get bigger and bigger through TikTok. So that's another reason that they had to shut it down. It's actually helping Trump and hurting the Democrat Party. So even though Biden came out and said he would not sign any bill that contained a TikTok ban, as soon as that hit his desk, signed, money to Ukraine, money to Israel, goodbye TikTok, because it's been hurting him. Another thing that they've had to do is the Democrats have actually slowed down a lot of their get out the vote campaigns. One of their biggest tools that they've used in the past to register young, dumb people to vote blue, they've had to call those orgs up and tell them, you have to stop. Too many people that you're registering are registering as Republican, because they want they're like, oh, rock the vote. Okay, yeah, I'd like to register as a Republican. And they're easing back on all those campaigns. So there's some big kind of like blood in the water in the political parties here. The Democrat Party looks like the socialists are actually part of the Democrat Party here. They call themselves the Progressive Democrat Caucus, or the Squad. AOC is a communist Democrat, and their whole movement has fractured the left so bad here that the big red wave that was promised in 2022 that didn't materialize, I think it was just still the tsunami pulling back. So that, and we didn't get enough people because it wasn't a presidential election. That's the thing that sucks, is we have elections almost every year, and a lot of the population only shows up to vote once every 4 years. I used to be guilty of that too. Yeah. When it was presidential election time, it's all over the TV. Now I pay attention because there's local elections, and I don't want that person that's going to turn the school board into a raving LGBTQ sex party. We got to pay attention. And I'm actually probably getting myself more motivated to, and I hate to say this, I'm probably going to be foraying into local politics after I've met the resident requirements here. Once that next election comes around, I might see what I can do to get in one of these small positions that they just kind of flies under the radar, and then start working my way up so I can start affecting the change I'm preaching to everyone to do.
Yes, so. I'll answer this question in a second, Demambam, but you're right. Like, here we have municipal elections actually here in Alberta are happening in October 2025. Small town councils, like UN is coming here too. WF is coming here with their UNESCO Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities. Lots of places, small towns in Alberta have already signed on to that, which is bringing their towns in line with the SDGs. There's the LGBTQ agenda that is coming out in full force. Benita Peterson I had on last week, and she led an initiative in her town of Westlock, which is about 5,000 people, where they banned. It was a bylaw on neutrality, meaning that no flags outside of federal, provincial, municipal flags, or can be flown, or crosswalks, stuff like that. So, I mean, going for a town councilor position, school trustee, these are small positions that are thankless jobs. They're not glorious. There's a lot more work. They don't pay well, if anything, but they're absolutely necessary. And yeah, I commend you for getting involved on the local level, because that's where you can actually affect the most change.
Yeah, and that's the thing. One of my viewers, Claw, he lives in a small rural Pennsylvania town, and everyone on the town council is a progressive Democrat, because they moved out there and they just ran pretty much unopposed and easily got the vote because people weren't paying attention. That's the biggest thing. These people think voting just for the president or that grand leader isn't going to solve all your problems. It could fix a lot of the federal problems you're dealing with. But the only way to fix those small town problems is to get involved and either support a candidate that you agree with their values, get out there, go knock on doors. And it's hard. I know a lot of people live more rurally and that have our values, and it gets a little harder to go door to door out there. So maybe you need to find that local meeting spot, because like out here, all the farm areas, they have a grange where all the farmers show up. Well, if you want to go help that political candidate, go walk into that grange. You'll find them all there on like a Friday night or something, and maybe show up sometime during the week and see if you can set it up and get those people involved. We have to take this. This is where the left kills us down here. Yeah. It's very easy for them to get college students. They can pay $20 an hour to go door to door and register people to vote and tell them, well, you got to vote against Trump this election. 81 million votes. We are seeing a lot of evidence come out that there was a lot of the cheating we accused happening. Well, unfortunately, the law has no resolution for a president that was cheated out of an election 3 years ago. Even if we discovered it a year later, there was
damage already done.
Biden was sworn in. He was the president. So even if it was cheated, even if they brought in extra ballots or scanned ballots twice, there's nothing we could do about it except for fix the problems. And that's we're seeing a lot more of those bills get passed in local places where they're fixing the problems, to where you may have to have an ID, or you may have to have better verification. Whereas in the big blue cities and states like Washington, they've had universal mail-in voting for probably about a decade. They just go out to the homeless camps, and an NGO goes out with a clipboard, registers them all to vote under the address of the PO box the NGO holds, and then just gives them a little gift for allowing them to have that ballot. So they register them to vote. They put the address down, this their PO box or one of their locations to get sent to, and they just fill them out and send them in. They have these massive things, and when they control everything, like California, Washington, Oregon, you can't stop them. Any investigation gets shut down from the top. So yeah, but that's their national divorce is very big on my things of what could happen in this near future. I think if Trump does get reelected, we may see the entire West Coast split off and secede from the United States, as well as like New York. They already war gamed all this in case he re-won 2020. They'd already had this whole thing planned out that they were going to leave the country and become something else in 2020 if Trump did win. But they managed to, as Joe Biden said, put together the biggest vote counting fraud organization in history. And now that we get a little bit of this coming out, we can see it happened, and we now are going to have the people at the locations paying attention. They're going to have actual legal observers there, lawyers and stuff on where they do this cheating, like Fulton County, Georgia, where it's coming out. And there's places in Michigan. They just fired the election people. A lot of them. 2 weeks ago was one. Now the head just got fired, where these were, because they're going to be under greater scrutiny this year. So we're putting the scrutiny into place because, like I said, he captured one of the major political parties just with the support of the people. So they are starting to put the stuff in play to where that same shenanigans, whether it be legal or illegal, is going to be harder for them to pull off in swing states. The blue strongholds, never going to happen. No matter how many people they hire to watch the vote counts, whatever, you can't stop their lax signature verification without it running all the way through the courts. And there are cases being ran up that the judges just shoot down before they can get up there. And once they get up to the state Supreme Court, they get shot down because it's all controlled. There's hardly any way to get in there, but you could still make a difference on a lot of those local positions. The state, we're never going to flip, but those local positions, go look at who's sitting on your school boards in Tacoma or Seattle. You would be surprised at what's actually making the decisions. Although if you've been paying attention to what they're teaching in schools now, you're probably not that surprised. So
yeah, we have that same, it's the exact same up here in that sense. In terms of like the ones that provide all the oil, all the resource, all the energy, all the food for not just Canada, but for, we actually, on that campaign trail I was on, we went to Hardisty, Alberta, which has a massive oil operation, and they actually ship a lot of oil down through the states. So like your whole kind of northern states are powered by oil that comes through Hardisty. And, Alberta is treated kind of like Canada's redheaded stepchild, that we're very neglected. We lack representation at the table there. They've kind of pandered to the East and to Quebec in particular. They're guaranteed a certain amount of seats at the table in the House of Commons, which is our government out there. And so we don't really, we're basically unfairly treated for sure.
Yeah. And
so there's a definite growing separatist sentiment out here. And depending on how the future goes, we may see it kind of a bit of a balkanization, just like you talked about. To answer the unsung bard here, how much influence does the UK have in Canada now? Well, we're still, it feels like we're crown and name only. Like we still call our public lands crown land. We have, everything has to be, it gets royal assent. So the crown has to say okay to it. But usually that's done through who our governor general is. They're kind of like the crown's representative here in Canada. But our governor general was appointed by a prime minister. So she's kind of beholden to him. So it's all just it's theater. It's theater. And, they kind of don't bother themselves with the day-to-day operations of Canada, but it's all done in the crown's name. So it's kind of like crown rule in name only. And someone in the comments could probably correct me on this. They know it a little bit better than I do, but our governor general, which is besties with our prime minister. And how do you think he escapes all these? How do you think he escapes all these scandals? Well, because he's installed the people around him in Senate, and everywhere, and in the judiciary, like our courts, the court of the King's Bench, formerly the court of the Queen's Bench before she croaked, is basically entirely beholden to him. Are there some good judges out there? I don't know. I have yet to see one. Supreme Court even. It's just we're in, like you said, we're on that slippery slope into authoritarian rule, and it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary.